Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe and that is Jay. And today, Jay, we're going to be looking at some positives, I think. Manchester United's resilience. And that's something that I think if you were looking at us last season, that's the one thing you would say we don't have. We gave up leads very easily. We struggled when things got tough. We didn't come out of games looking like we had that sort of fight, that team spirit about us. Now, there's a lot of things that went wrong against Tottenham. There's some things that went right as well. But what there definitely was a faith and a belief that even when we were losing, even when we were struggling, that we would be able to pull ourselves out of it. And we saw the same thing against Forest. We saw the same thing against Liverpool, leading, conceding, and leading again. Now, obviously, the aim would be lead, don't concede. But, you know, if we're going one step at a time here, are we finally starting to see, Amorim keeps saying it, if you can't win the game, certainly don't lose the game. Are we starting to see a bit of a mentality shift at United in terms of belief and sort of resilience?
100%. And I think you've seen that, not throughout the entire season, but certainly the last month or so.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw it going back even further against Burnley. That was a late winner on it. We kept going at Old Trafford. That was a game we really needed to win after that Grimsby game. You saw it against Liverpool, obviously, with the late Maguire winner. Against Brighton, I know we sort of were the architects almost of our own downfall, letting them back into the game, but we kept going to get that fourth goal to get the result over the line. And you've seen it against Forest and against Spurs. Yes, it's frustrating that we were in the lead in both of those games, but we have shown that mettle, we have shown that resilience, as you rightly said, and we have shown that determination and belief to get those late equalisers. Where last season, we did lose those games. We lost at Forest, we lost at Spurs, and we would have lost the games this time round if we'd not. It's not necessarily just a quality thing. It's having that little bit of like, you know what, this game's still there for the taking. And the Spurs game is probably the perfect example of it, because you're down to 10 men, you've gone from 1-0 up to 2-1 down. It's easy to let your head drop.
Yeah.
It's easy to be like, oh. And we've seen that so many times. Me and you sat around this table and we spoke about, you can see it in the players, their heads have dropped. They've gone. They're waiting for that final whistle. You can see it so many times where you go, these lot have given up with this game already. And we haven't seen that so far this season. And I'm hoping that this is the sort of move forward we need, because far too often at United, it hasn't just been a quality issue. It's been a mentality issue. Yep. We've repeated the same things over and over again, me and you, during the 5 years we've been doing this, a bit longer, where we've said about players just not having that fight, having that grit, having that leadership, or whatever you want to call it, when it comes to sort of just being able to grind out those results, get those goals. It's not just about having the players who've got the best ability. Many times at United, we've got good players. There's this myth that United is just full of dross. It isn't, and it isn't right now. But what we've added to this team has been a bit of a mentality shift. And a big part of that is you've got rid of some of the characters that didn't have that. Does anyone think Jadon Sancho's got the right mentality to keep battling and keep fighting when you're in a goal down?
No.
Because if you do, I've got some magic beans to sell you. Does anyone think that Marcus Rashford, for as much as we love Marcus Rashford, had that mentality that we really needed from him?
I think he lost it as
he
time
lost
went
it.
on.
Agreed.
He got ground out of him at United.
It did. There was a time when he did.
Yeah.
He was one of those players that would keep going and get you a late winner or a late equaliser. Not anymore.
No.
And he hasn't been that for too long. Rasmus Højlund's slightly different. I think with Højlund, the issue was he'd lost his mojo full stop. I don't even know if it was determination. I think he just lost confidence.
Yeah.
But you look at the players we've got in now, look at some of the players that are already there that we've kept. Ahmad keeps going. Mbumo obviously keeps going. De Ligt, not just with the goal, but his attitude, the application, and the sort of quintessential example of it all, Harry Maguire. We saw it last season against Lyon. We've seen it this season against the Scousers. He's someone who keeps going, not just with goals, but with that determination, with that fight. And that's what you need. That's what wins you trophies ultimately, which is what we're about. It's what wins your football matches or gets you points in football matches as well. And that's what United have been lacking for far too long.
In terms of the next step after this, because obviously there will be games where we're leading and we don't hold on, and you know you can't guarantee that you're going to score a 95th minute equaliser or a 90th minute equaliser. Now, one unfortunate trend that there has been is we score, they get one back. I know we'd got two by the time Chelsea got theirs back, but again, the last goal of that game was scored by Chelsea. Against Brighton, again, luckily we'd got three by the time they got there too, but there was a nervy moment toward the end of the game. Liverpool, back and forth a bit in terms of the timeline, but we're leading, they get one back, we have to go and get the winner. And again against Tottenham, we're leading, they get one and then two back. Now obviously if you score the first goal of the game, the next goal, if it's not yours, you're going to have lost the lead. I get, just the pure mass of that. If we concede first, that's far worse than where we currently are. However, the next step is, if we could keep clean sheets, we'd be top of the league. And I know that's the case for everyone, but when you consistently score first in games, what a phenomenal footing that is for you as a team. How do you think we go from where we are now, which is amazingly scoring first in almost every game we play, to scoring first and then not conceding the next goal? Because that seems to be the big sort of next step for me, I think.
I think when we're talking about the mentality, there's still that panic in United.
Yeah.
There's still that fragility. I know that might sound like a slight contradiction in what I'm saying, but I think both things can be true.
Yeah.
And I think that when you saw it against Forest came out of the blocks that second half. Dyche has obviously given him a right rollicking. The crowd are up for it, and we concede, and then almost immediately we concede again. It's like, oh my God, it's happening all over again. And there was an element of that against Spurs where it was like panic stations. We were panicking for far too often in that Spurs game, and they get 2 goals as well. So I think there is a little bit of a fragility there that we do need to address. I think certain players, in particular the experienced players, and it's always a silly thing to say, but I'll say anyway, like, needs to be better, but they need to show that composure.
Yeah.
You need someone like Bruno Fernandes just to be able to calm things down. He's been around the block for a long time now. He's your captain. It's not just about getting stuck in and blood and thunder and flying into things. Sometimes it's just about going, hang on a minute, let's just keep possession. Let's have a minute where we're just popping it around and we're not doing much. That's fine. We don't have to, you point out in the Spurs game, have to approach it like we're 1-0 down with 5 minutes to go when we're winning. That makes no sense to me. And there's still that element coming from some of your experienced players. I think the experienced players have to lead the way with it. I think they're the ones that have to go have a word with someone like Dorgu or Amad or whoever and go, yeah, let's just calm it down, keep things solid, keep it simple. We need to do that a little bit better than we have. And I know it's a long-winded answer, but the final piece of the puzzle is having more options. Because I think whilst we do make loads of subs, and he loves a sub, I know he didn't against Forest make many, but he did against Spurs, I do think there's a drop-off there in certain areas that doesn't help you. Because the last 10 minutes, if you score first, especially away from home, the home team are going to come at you.
Yeah.
And if you've got players that are knackered, like Casemiro, after an hour, and you're heavily reliant on him, and then the player that comes in for him is Ugarte, and there's a massive drop-off there, and that's no disrespect to Ugarte, but I think there is, you're going to struggle. And that's where Manchester United, despite the excellent signings we've made this summer, I think it's been our best summer in a long time in terms of signings, there's still room for improvement.
That's why you need players that are almost as good as each other. There's no point in having an A team and then 2 miles down a B team. The reason why I think Arsenal are looking good, because if you play Eze or Odegaard, the gap, I think people could even argue either way who's better. The gap isn't massive, certainly. If you play whoever it may be at Arsenal, like Marino or Zubimendi, yes, there's a gap, but it's not a gigantic gap. And that's the problem at United. The gaps are too big. The drop-offs are too big. Other than in the front line, which is, funnily enough, where we've improved the most. Like, if you start a front line of Mount, Sesko and Mbeumo, and then you bring Cunha on for one of those, you're not going, oh, for God's sake, we're never going to score now. It's almost just as likely to score before and after. The problem is the substitutes in the midfield in particular, and the defence to a lesser degree. You're making noticeable acceptances that we're going to be worse now, but we're going to be fresher. And that shouldn't be the case. You should be almost as good and fresher. And I think that is a big thing that the manager can't help. Like, he spoke after the game against Tottenham and sort of said, we had to take Casemiro off. He doesn't, I think in the dream world, Casemiro's got the engine that he used to have and he plays 90 minutes. But you can see him slowing down. You can see him not being able to get that extra step to tackle his man. So you have to kind of bring Ugarte on, and then the standard drop. So that's a massive point, I think, just in terms of personnel. The other thing as well is we do seem to struggle at the minute stopping crosses coming in. Against Forest, both of their goals were from crosses. Against Tottenham, again, Richarlison had a clear header in the first half. The Tell goal was from a cross as well. The third one was a sort of mixture of things, but it ended up going out from a cross that we'd won and then being deflected in, so I won't count that one. But stopping the ball coming into the box, how do you think we can improve on that? You think with the wing-backs, we've got more centre-backs in the middle, so the wing-backs could get closer to their men, but it feels like it's the opposite at the minute.
It feels like this is the issue you have a lot of the time with wing-backs. It feels like more often than not wing-backs are wingers playing as wing-backs rather than full-backs playing as wing-backs. I know there's exceptions to that, and you could argue that Diogo Dalot is more of a fullback, or you could argue that even Patrick Dorgu is, and there's times when both of those are playing for Manchester United. But Ahmad's an obvious one. He's a winger, but you're asking him to play at wing back, and I think he does a decent job there as well.
Yeah,
I think that's part of the problem, though. They're not as instinctive defensively that you might get when you've got a proper fullback. I think, yes, the centre backs have to help out, and I think there's better be better communication. I like De Ligt. I like the fact he'll be in the ear of his wing back. You need that. That's what you need. You need to be not just shouting at him, but helping him out, like you say, when that's necessary. Pushing out there. And it's something that the manager can work on because it's an obvious thing. That's the advantage of something that me and you can see. The manager sees it. And he'll know that. And he'll be frustrated with it and be like, look, we have got to stop these crosses coming in. We have got to get closer to our man. And I think part of the problem you've got is this almost merry-go-round at wing-back. Because Ahmad sort of started the season at wing-back. Well, let's go further back. Last season, Ahmad starts as a wing-back under Ruben Amorim.
Yeah.
Then we need him further forward because he's scoring goals. And, the Etihad is a prime example of that. So then he's in the 10. Then you're bringing him back to wing-back. And at the beginning of the season, he looks a little bit out of sorts. Then he starts finding his groove at wing-back. And then you push him back into the 10.
Yeah.
That's not... And I understand why we had to do it, but that's not helpful for him and his development in a position that's relatively new to him. He hasn't played his entire career as wing-back. He's played about, I don't know, if I'm guessing, 15, 20 games there. That's not a lot.
No.
You're looking at someone like... Even Dalot. I know he's defensively should be a bit better, but he was a fullback for many years, wasn't he? Just a fullback. And now he's a wing-back, so it's slightly different. So there's times when he's bombing forward, and then all of a sudden it's like, hang on a minute, I'm a little bit exposed there. So I just feel... And then Dorgu's another one, sorry. Dorgu has a great pre-season. We all think he's one of the contenders for player of the pre-season. I know that's not a thing, but he played very well against Premier League opposition. However, this season, he barely starts in the Premier League. So when he does come in, then he's been sort of in and out, and he's not had that maybe run of games that helps you get settled and get used to it. I'm not making excuses. Ultimately, these players have got to take responsibility because there's no excuse for not getting closer to the opposition winger and letting him get a crossing. It's basic. But I'm just trying to find out some reasons behind it. Because I don't think Ahmad's a bad player. I don't think Dorgu's a bad player. Despite what everyone says, I don't think Dalot's a bad player. I just think at times there's that little bit of switching off. There's a little bit of struggling to get to grips with the pace of a game. And there's that little bit of, in certain examples, lack of understanding of what your role is defensively.
I know we sort of asked you this at the start, but are you more confident now than you were even 3 games ago? Obviously, go back to last season when we're losing every week. I'm sure things feel better now. But as we learn more about this team, even though we haven't won in 2, if you want to look at it like that, it is 5 games unbeaten, 3 of which were wins. Are you continuing to grow positivity, or is there sort of doubts creeping in?
I've always been sort of cautiously optimistic with what Ruben Amorim was trying to do.
Yeah.
And there's times like after the Grimsby game, after the Brentford game, where it wasn't necessarily that I'd give up with him. I thought he was giving up. His comments and the way he was acting, I thought this guy's, he's almost like he don't believe in himself anymore. And I think the difference now is you go into that Spurs game, and I felt the Spurs game was not a must win. I thought it was, if we won that game, it'd really put us in the mix and make our mentality shift of like, you know what, it's Champions League for us. That's what we're aiming for. That's what we should be going for. If we're sort of the top 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, whatever, you've got to aim for that Champions League. Now, you flash back or you roll it back to pre-Sunderland, I genuinely thought that was a must-win game because if he lost it, I thought he might end up losing his job or giving up. Yeah. You go even further back to the Burnley game after the Grimsby defeat, I thought that was a must-win game because I think if he loses to Burnley at home after he's just lost to Grimsby, he might be in trouble. And now we're at a stage where we're thinking, or I'm thinking anyway, you may disagree and by all means get involved in the chat in the comments, let me know, where if we lose this game, it's going to shift the narrative around where we can aim for. That's completely different than thinking a manager's going to be in serious trouble. So I am more confident. I do like what I'm seeing. I think the players, like Ruben Amorim said, to be fair to him, are getting used to the system. Despite the flaws you've highlighted, I think there's a better understanding of what we're trying to do and the players are getting to grips with it. But you have to be sort of tentative here. Yeah. Because just as we have done during games, towards the end of games or halfway through games where you've seen the fragility kick in, that can happen over the next sort of 4 or 5 games. The 1+ is we have got a easier run coming up, and I'm hoping that United can get a real run together. This has been a decent run. What is it, 11 points from 15? It's good that. Like, let's not, pretend it's not. But there's opportunities here where we could actually put a real run together. Frank can cut his hair. and we can start talking about Champions League football as a real possibility. That's where United should be at a minimum anyway, innit? Me and you've sat here and gone, European football will do. But let's not kid ourselves. If we end up in the Europa Conference next season, we're not going to be getting the bunting out. It'd be good if we were challenging for Champions League spots. Even if we fall a little bit short, you can at least go, right, we're in that mix, and then at least you've got Europa.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jay, as always.
Thanks. It's always good to chat to you, Joe. You're always level-headed.
Thank you very much.
Do you know what I mean? You are.
Well, I tried. I mean, I'm not trying to be.
That's your natural. When you're off camera, you don't. It's not a character.
Yeah.
You're not performing. This is how you feel. I should have asked you before you wrap up. Sorry.
Go on.
Where's your head at with it all? Because I think this has been a little bit.
I'm much more optimistic. Scoring first is massive, and we're not going to do it every week. So it'll be interesting to see how a game looks when we do concede first. Not that I want that to happen, just for the science of it. But it'd be interesting to see. Let's say Everton get the first goal in a couple of weeks. Do United then spend 70 minutes looking the better team, only to still be 1-0 down? And how will people react to that if we get a late draw at 1-1 compared to conceding a late one? It all feels very different, doesn't it? One is you've gained something, the other is you've given something away. But let's keep scoring first. What a brilliant trait to have. And it's a trait that we didn't used to have. We're scoring more goals. We scored, what is it now, 2, 6, 8, 10 goals in the last 4 games. Over the last couple of seasons, we're scoring just over 1 goal a game in the Premier League. Certainly fewer than 2. So I'm happy with that, and I think that we look like a good team again. So yeah, let's keep moving forward.
And you say clean sheets. Senna Lomans is a player that looks like he can get clean sheets.
Yeah, 100%.
He can, and he deserves it because his performances have been outstanding. So yeah, I share your optimism. I really do.
Great. Right. Thank you very much for joining us. Get your thoughts in the description. Do you think we've hit a new stride in terms of mentality? Is there a difference, even though we aren't winning these last couple of games? Do you feel as though United's mentality has changed? Also, as Jay's pointing out there, check out the merch. There's loads of new stuff.
Christmas is almost there, isn't it?
So we're 8th of November now, so if you want to get these in as presents or treat yourself, something to wear around the Christmas markets, head to the link in the description for all of the latest stuff. Just go and check out. It's really good stuff, good quality stuff as well. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Jay, as always. We'll see you in a bit.